There's a moment in every person's life when they learn exactly what humiliation feels like, the flavor, the weight of it. For me, it arrived as a sudden, burning tide one humid morning just after my short film, made with nothing more than an ancient camcorder and trembling hands, exploded across the São Paulo internet like an unwelcome joke. I woke to the sound of my younger brother laughing, loud, uncaring, the kind of laugh that pulls people from dreams with the clarity of a siren. My phone buzzed and buzzed, chronic notifications, and as soon as I glanced at the screen I understood. Hundreds of messages, meme tags, a cruel hashtag built from my own name and the word dieter, but warped, sarcastic, followed by 100 cry-laugh emojis. In our apartment's cramped kitchen, the old linoleum floor felt sticky beneath my bare feet while he showed my parents, his phone blaring snippets of my voice, my face mid-sentence, my shaky overdubs. The sound of me layered with mocking remixes and voiceovers doubled the humiliation. Someone, a sharp, anonymous classmate, had clipped together scenes from my film, adding stock sound effects, jittery cutaways, and heavy text that pulsed along with a rhythm meant for derision. "O grand visionario de Villa Mariana," it declared before a shot of me talking about dreams, my hair unkempt, my accent a little thicker than I'd like. The room in the clip was cluttered. The lights from the avenue outside bled through torn curtains. People laughed at that too. By the time I closed myself in the bathroom, I felt my palms wet with something more like terror than sweat. I heard my mother's voice through the door. "Voce vu o que fizeram André." Her words hovered between concern and disappointment, as if she were asking about a poor grade, not public ridicule. I only nodded, though she couldn't see, sitting on the closed toilet, curled inward, eyes tracing the lines of cracked tile. For days, our flat glowed with its usual dimness and something heavier. My brother replayed the video every few minutes, almost gleefully, making sure friends from school saw it too. His friends' faces appeared in our tiny living room over battered phone screens, snorting from the corners. "Mano tu irmão eacute doido, quem pensa que vai fazer filme aqui?" They all laughed, my brother laughing with them, louder this time. Even my father barely concealed his amusement when his co-worker sent him the link. At dinner he poked at his food, half smiling. "Pilo menos tens corrigem molk," he said. "Mas cinema." "Zaqui." I stopped leaving the apartment for weeks. I lay on my back and stared at the ceiling. I tried to put my film ideas in notebooks, but my hand trembled so much I knocked the pen from the page. I pictured every face from school, both those I liked and those I barely knew, seeing that video, recalling it anytime they saw me in the street. What drove me those days was not just humiliation, but an almost manic defiance. It sprouted in the darkest hours, 3 or 4 in the morning, neighbors' music pulsing nearby, my own eyes refusing to close. Rage built up in me against all of them and even against myself for caring so much. Defiance is a strange thing. It doesn't make you confident but makes you move. I forced myself up, wrote a new script and made a promise, if only to prove them wrong, to wipe away those cruel grins from their faces. But making films costs money and I had none to spare. Our block near Santa Cruz hummed with people like me, wanting more and having little. Instead of giving up, I scavenged. I scavenged more than just equipment. I scavenged minutes between shifts at the bakery, stolen glances at actors in the subway or on the Praça da República, borrowed props from street market stalls if the owner looked kind. My mother gave me her battered old phone, its lens chipped, provoca gravel mu ama. I wanted to hug her forever. Some days I almost gave up, but then I'd remember the laughter, the faces, and the stone that settled in my chest. If I couldn't shut them up with words, maybe I could do it with images. I persisted, even when all it earned me was more quiet ridicule. My family, friends, apartment neighbors all whispering, shaking heads at the sight of me editing for 12 hours at the cafe. At me gathering kids from the block, promising them 15 reais and snacks for standing in front of my phone. I hunted for odd jobs, sometimes lying about my age to get night shifts, always with a script stuffed in my pocket. I released my second film on YouTube quietly, not daring to show my family first. It was only moderately better than the last, but I'd improved. This time, a few film students left comments, critical but constructive. One said the ending was raw but intentionally so. I took it as a lifeline. I replied to every comment, making friends in shadowy corners of the internet, finding allies, swapping scripts and short films through late-night messages. The darkness pressed in more often than the light. When my third film came, even grittier, drawn from the violence and beauty of the city, the local press picked it up. A blog called Cineminha de Bico, my name, André Vieira, appeared, attached to words like authentic and unpolished. I could almost taste hope again. But hope doesn't fill a belly or soothe a heart bruised by derision. Some evenings coming home, I'd hear my brother mimicking a scene, my father's friends making small jokes about being artistas. The city, enormous and indifferent, swallowed the days. Rain pounded the windowpins at night, mixing with the moans of buses along Avenida Paulista. I dreamed of escape but had nowhere to go. A year passed, two, failure after failure, a handful of online premieres. Still no money, but the films kept improving. My name started turning up on festival short lists. The community process is slow and uneven, like a trickle before a flood. Some faces from the old neighborhood looked away from me entirely now, like not looking meant they wouldn't acknowledge the stubborn persistence of my dream. Then, one morning filled with low, icy sunlight, I got the message. The inbox read, Festival International de Curtas de São Paulo SELECIONADO. It was my fourth film and they wanted it in competition. The email said my name would be slotted beside directors from France, Argentina, even Japan. I stared at the screen, feeling neither joy nor fear, only weightless disbelief. When my family learned, my brother first, by accident seeing a tag on Instagram, his mouth hung half open. Even my father's gruff, calloused hands stilled on the rim of his coffee mug. Vai passar no festival? My mother's voice trembled, hope and worry sloshing in her eyes. I nodded. Que lugar? My brother asked, half hoping for the right answer. Centro Cultural São Paulo, Sala Lima Burrito, I answered, voice steadier than I felt. They blinked as though hearing a foreign language. They'd only heard rumors of that place, seen its steps, the massive glass, the painted walls. Eles vão exibir meu filme. The days limped forward. I barely slept, heart a hovering, anxious animal in my throat. I prepped the film until dawn, checked and rechecked subtitles, prayed the laptop battery wouldn't fail. My family decided, after much negotiation and some prodding from neighbors, that they'd all come, but only to the first screening. I saw the tension on my father's jaw, the fidgeting in my brother's hands, the uncertain hope in my mother's eyes laced with decades of hard luck. As we rode the bus together, the chugging vehicle filled with 100 different human scents, I felt a flutter of panic. What if the laughter came again, but this time inside a theater? The Centro Cultural glowed in the late afternoon light, its glass facades catching purple at the edges. Hundreds of steps swept around us, students and couples milled near the entrance, smoking and arguing about music. I wore my only decent buttoned shirt, a slate grey 2 sizes too large, torn at the elbow. My father whispered, Benito esse lugar, eyes scanning the artistic graffiti, the spiraling staircases. My brother walked ahead, pretending coolness but glancing over every few steps, checking for school friends. They ushered us through frosted glass doors. Inside, the smell of old books and popcorn rose up. The festival volunteers, young, tattooed, all-black t-shirts, welcomed us with practiced warmth. I cradled the film reel in my sweating hands. The cinema salle itself was smaller than I'd imagined but packed, rows of molded plastic seats, the hush of expectation humming behind everyone's talk. My mother gripped my wrist, squeezing as the lights dimmed. The MC announced the films, her voice amplified, E agora de sinista local André Vieira mar de vidro. On screen. Our streets as I had seen them, a tattered soccer ball skipping over cracked tiles, old men arguing at the padaria, lightning over Edificio Italia. The actors, just kids and neighbors, delivered the lines I'd whispered against the roar of the city, the shadows and color of São Paulo. As the story turned, the room held its breath. Nobody laughed, not one. When the credits rolled, a silence blossomed before gentle, rising applause, the kind that fills your bones. My mother's shoulders sagged, unburdened, as if she carried that noise for years. My father's jaw worked hard. My brother, for once, didn't move, fixing his eyes on the screen as my name stood there, unmissable, white on black. Afterward, people trickled into the hallway talking softly. A tall man with a press badge shook my hand, asking about camera angles. An older woman from the festival committee pressed a card into my palm, Lindo Verdadeiro. My family stood in a ring around me. Dazed, quiet. As the doors swung open to let us out, my brother's friends spilled into the lobby, phones out, faces shifting from amusement to something else. It wasn't mockery anymore, but awe. I heard one whisper, Caramba, ele fez mesmo. We returned home on the metro in shadowed silence. My father cleared his throat halfway between a cough and a sigh. André, tu filme foi Benito. Benito mesmo. My mother held both my hands and, voice trembling, simply said thank you. But the world doesn't change overnight. Over the coming weeks, more screenings followed: youth centers, church basements, cafes in Vila Madalena where the chairs were crates and the audience spoke with their hands. The film took a prize, modest, only a week's salary at my new editing job, but my name gained weight in certain circles. Interviews followed, some on podcasts, others on noisy local radio. Even the old classmate who'd made the first viral joke sent a single, awkward message, no apology but a congratulation. I read it, then let it fade. Home, however, is never just a place. Returning to the apartment, stretching my legs on those ancient tiles was different now. In the halls, neighbors greeted me with a strange formality. "Oh, artista," one old woman laughed, pinching my cheek. "Sempre fale quetinha futuro." I saw them watching, this time as if measuring me anew. My brother, always eager to forget his own part in my undoing, asked for a job on my next shoot. My father, unaccustomed to pride, grew softer, quieter at home, sometimes leaving the newspaper open at stories about independent cinema. 6 months later, as my next project inched along, the festival invited me back, but this time not to compete but to introduce the next slate of films, to stand at the front and talk about the city, about dreams, about persistence. It was intimidating, more terrifying than showing my own film. I thought of all the faces that had scoffed, how quickly fire turns to silence. That night I walked alone from the centro to the metro, the city's lights streaming in blurred columns before the night took them. Even with small successes, the fear never vanished, only dulled, muted by the hardened knowledge that even in this city, a place that chews up hope daily, someone like me could break through. My phone buzzed and I checked it. A text from my mother, 3 emojis, a heart and 2 tiny film reels. I returned not as a conquering hero but as a survivor. My scars line each film I make, etched in grain and shadow. I carry them proudly, a reminder that ridicule isn't the end of the story. Sometimes it's only the cue for the next shot.